There's a book most people will never read. Not because it's banned, not because it's dangerous, but because it asks too much of them. It doesn't want your belief. It demands your surrender, not to dogma, but to direct contact with the architecture of everything. This book rewrites what you thought you knew about God, about Jesus, about yourself. It's not a reinterpretation. It's not a conspiracy. It's a map from origin to afterlife, from the mechanics of the universe to the blueprint of your soul. And the wildest part? It's not hidden in vaults. It's not encrypted or buried. It's out in the open, hidden in plain sight. They call it the Urantia Book. And if it's even half true, then everything you were taught about history, divinity, and human identity has been a beautiful lie. You're not who you think you are. Jesus isn't who you think he was. And this world isn't what it appears to be. If you're ready to see through the veil, not with wonder, but with precision, then keep listening. Because once this transmission enters you, there's no going back. The Urantia Book doesn't open with fire and fear. It opens with order, structure, a calm unveiling of how the universe actually functions, layer by layer, realm by realm. It doesn't ask you to believe, it explains. It doesn't glorify God as a distant king, but as a central intelligence, the first source and center, a conscious field from which every reality emerges, including yours. No commandments, no threats, no gatekeeping, only diagrams of divinity written in the language of cosmic logic. You won't find hell in these pages. You won't find judgment in fire or fear. What you'll find is scale, the scale of a multiverse meticulously designed, organized like a neural network with each soul, including yours, as a conscious node. In the Urantia Book, Jesus is not just the carpenter's son, not just a healer, not just a prophet. He is Michael of Nebadon, a creator's son, a spiritual architect who chose Earth as the stage for his seventh and final bestowal mission. He didn't come to die. He came to reveal, to model what it means to be fully human and fully aligned, so that your blueprint could awaken in response. And Urantia? That's Earth. But that's not what they call it in the book. They call it by its cosmic registry, a decimal planet, an experimental world for accelerated evolution, spiritually, biologically, consciously, which means the chaos, the complexity, the strange, often brutal unfolding of Earth's story. It's not a mistake, it's design. Your suffering wasn't random. It was part of a curriculum, not to punish, but to evolve. Because in this version of reality, the soul is not saved. It graduates. And every lifetime, every challenge, every choice you make is a line in your cosmic file, a note in your soul's frequency record, a ripple on a journey that spans far beyond one fragile human name. The Urantia Book doesn't erase what you know. It completes it. Like a missing lens in a telescope, you've been staring through your whole life, wondering why nothing ever came into focus. Here's what makes the Urantia Book unlike anything else. It has no credited author, no guru, no prophet, no publishing agenda. It wasn't channeled by a celebrity medium. It wasn't discovered in a cave. It arrived, slowly, through a sleeping man in Chicago during the early 20th century. But the man didn't write it. He didn't even know what he was saying. He spoke in trance, and the words were documented meticulously by a group of professionals, doctors, psychologists, researchers, who came to be known as the Forum. They asked questions. The answers came through. One page became 100. 100 became over 2,000. And what emerged wasn't fantasy. It was a cosmology, a theology, a psychological, philosophical, interdimensional map of reality. Utterly consistent, staggeringly detailed, and decades ahead of anything science or religion could offer at the time. It describes levels of reality with quantum elegance. It outlines spiritual hierarchies with organizational logic. It defines personality not as a trait, but as a cosmic gift. And most radically of all, it names you, your soul, your mind, your body, as a temporary arrangement in an eternal evolutionary process. You are not here to be saved. You are here to awaken, to ascend, step by step, layer by layer, universe by universe. This is not a book you read once. It's a frequency you return to. It doesn't try to convince you. It waits for your consciousness to catch up. And now that this transmission has reached you, maybe it already has. If you're feeling that activation deep in your chest, hit subscribe and tap the bell. This is just one spark from the fire that's coming. For centuries, humanity has lived under a spell cast not with dark magic, but with misunderstood scripture. A spell that turned source into a judge, Jesus into a sacrifice, and you into a sinner unworthy of your own birthright. But the Urantia Book slices through that illusion like light through fog. In its pages, God isn't a king sitting on a throne. He's not watching, he's not waiting, he's indwelling, not out there, in here. Referred to as the first source and center, God isn't a person. He is the origin of personality. He doesn't possess power. He is the cause of power. He doesn't make laws. His nature is law, and the spark of that source lives inside you. The book calls it a thought adjuster, a fragment of the divine embedded within your mind. Not a metaphor, a literal, conscious presence, guiding, witnessing, evolving alongside you. You don't earn it. You don't pray for it. You are issued it at birth, as a signal that you're not here to beg for salvation. You're here to remember your origin. And Jesus, forget the martyr. According to Urantia, Jesus, Joshua ben Joseph, was not here to die for your sins. He was here to reveal your pattern. As Michael of Nebadon, he was already divine. But he came here to live as you, to walk the tension, the betrayal, the beauty, the biology, and in doing so, prove that the human vessel can carry the full voltage of divinity without breaking. His death wasn't the point, his life was. His resurrection wasn't a miracle, it was a confirmation that spirit precedes matter, that consciousness outlives biology, and that what you are can never be reduced to flesh. And yet, the age of Pisces turned him into a symbol of guilt, a tool of shame, a passive icon to worship from below. But in the light of the Urantia Book, he is a mirror. Not a master to serve, but a model to become. You're not here to bow before the Christ. You're here to realize the Christ within. And that idea that a human could embody cosmic frequency is the most dangerous truth religion ever buried, because it doesn't just free you from sin, it frees you from them, from the priests, the doctrines, the fear-based control systems that only work as long as you forget what you really are. So ask yourself, what happens when billions of people stop looking up and start looking in? The systems shake, the story breaks, and the real age begins. You've always felt it, haven't you? That Earth doesn't behave like other places. That everything here is turned up. The beauty, the pain, the contradiction. One day you're flying. The next, you're falling through yourself. There's no map, no clarity, just chaos in every direction. But what if that chaos was intentional? The Urantia Book doesn't describe Earth as a random blue dot. It calls it Urantia, a decimal planet. In cosmic terms, that means Earth is part of a rare class of experimental worlds, 1 in every 10. Where spiritual evolution is allowed to unfold with more freedom, more risk, and more intensity. Let that land. You are living on a test site for consciousness, where new energies are trialed, new evolutionary combinations are tested, and soul growth is accelerated at a pace few other worlds ever experience. That's why it hurts so much here, why it's so beautiful and brutal, inspiring and insane, sometimes in the same breath. Because Earth isn't easy, it's advanced. And your soul, it signed up for this. It volunteered. Before you ever breathed air, you chose this chaos. You chose the friction. You chose the distortion, because only here, in this pressure, could your light get forged. Most people think evolution is only physical, but Urantia teaches otherwise. Evolution is spiritual first. The body is just the echo, and your soul's journey isn't linear. It's an ascent through dimensions, a long and layered curriculum of identity expansion, from mortal to morontial to spiritual. Every challenge you face, every heartbreak, loss, trauma, failure, is not a punishment. It's a trigger point, a moment designed to activate deeper awareness, to recalibrate your choices, and to push your soul forward on a timeline far grander than one life. So when you ask, why me? The answer is simple: because you're ready. This world tests the edges of possibility, of trust, of courage, of coherence, and only the boldest souls choose to incarnate here, especially during this phase of planetary evolution. Because this isn't just an experiment, it's approaching graduation. The veil is thinning, the energies are rising, the transmission is opening. And the Urantia Book, it didn't come to convert. It came to prepare, to wake up the ones who were always meant to carry the signal forward when the old systems collapse and the false gods fall. That's not prophecy, that's physics. The resonance of a planet shedding its programming so it can finally begin the next stage. You don't need to fight the shift, you are the shift. And if that scares you, good. It means you're finally starting to remember. What if death isn't the end of your story, but the start of a new chapter in a higher dimension of the same book? The Urantia Book doesn't mystify the afterlife. It maps it. In its pages, the moment your body dies, you are met by guides, not angels in robes, but conscious beings, technicians of soul transition. They don't judge you, they transfer you from flesh into Urantia form, an intermediate state between material and spiritual. You awaken not in heaven, but on mansion worlds, spheres of learning, correction, evolution. Think of them as cosmic campuses, each one more refined than the last, designed to cleanse your soul of falsehoods and realign it with truth, gradually, gently, deeply. You don't float. You train, you study, you integrate, you meet others. You remember more than you've ever known on Earth. Your karma, it's not punishment, it's unlearned curriculum. Your regrets, lessons unfinished. But grace is built into the system. You're not here to pass or fail. You're here to grow, and as you ascend, you shift form, lighter, finer, more radiant with each level, until eventually you are no longer bound by memory or fear. You become a fused personality, your soul and your inner divine fragment finally unified. And then, you journey inward, toward the universal Father, toward the center of all things, not for praise, not for applause, but because returning to Source is your natural gravity. This journey is not fantasy. It is the original story, hijacked by institutions, rewritten by religion, and buried beneath doctrine that taught you to beg for salvation instead of evolving through experience. You don't die, you graduate, and the earth, it's only your first classroom. The grief you carry, temporary. The guilt you hold, unnecessary. The spark in your chest, eternal. No version of you is wasted. No pain is pointless. No death is final. You are not a sinner trying to be good. You are a cosmic being learning how to remember. And when you finally stop fearing the end, you realize there never was one. Forget history books. Forget religious timelines. Forget the noise of the now. What's happening isn't just a political shift, an environmental crisis, or a social awakening. It's a species-level upgrade, a planetary reboot. And you, yes, you, are the interface. You were born at the hinge point, the era where one cycle ends and another begins, not by accident, not as a spectator, but as a signal carrier. The Urantia Book doesn't just offer facts, it offers activation. Every page is a transmission coded in layered frequency. not for your brain, for your being. And when you read it or hear its truth through a voice like this, something stirs, not in the intellect, but in the memory hidden behind your DNA. A recognition, a deep pulse that says, this is not new, this is what I've always known, but was never allowed to say, because you were conditioned to forget, to shrink, to conform, to trade your intuition for doctrine, your sovereignty for safety, your light for likability. But the Urantia Book is a key, not to escape Earth, but to understand your role in its transformation. You are not broken, you are encoded with the capacity to perceive multidimensionally, to unify science and spirit, to dissolve outdated religious programming without losing your soul in the process. You're here to prove it's possible to be fully human and fully divine, not in theory, but in practice, to navigate the heartbreak without numbing, to hold the paradox without running, to carry the frequency of higher truth into systems built on fear and vibrate so clearly that those systems can no longer hold their shape. You are a disruptor, a bridge, a fractal of the new template. That's why it's hard. That's why you feel everything, because the old world is heavy with noise and your signal is built for clarity. So you will feel out of place, you will be misunderstood, you will be told to quiet down, tone it down, fit in, but you weren't designed to fit in. You were born to transmit. The truth is this: everything is unraveling exactly as it must. The collapse is part of the blueprint, and as the veil continues to dissolve, those who were once asleep will look for light. They'll scan for truth, they'll search for coherence, and they'll find you. You've reached the end of a video, but not the end of a message, because this, all of this, isn't just information, it's initiation. The Urantia Book didn't come into your field today by chance. It came because something in you is ready, not to believe, but to remember. To remember that the story of Jesus isn't just ancient history, it's a mirror of your potential. That the cosmos isn't just a backdrop, it's your cradle, and that your life, this life right now, is one spark in a continuum so vast your current identity can barely comprehend it. And yet, your soul knows. It knew the moment the words entered your ears. It knew the moment the energy behind the text hit your chest. It knew before you clicked play, because deep in your being, you weren't looking for answers. You were looking for resonance. And now you've found it, not outside of you, but in you, confirmed by the fire that won't go out now that it's lit. So now comes the real question. Not what do I believe, not what should I do next, but something deeper, more dangerous, more activating. If this message was a coded reminder of who you actually are, what are you going to do about it? Drop your realization, your resonance in the comments. Not to prove anything, but to anchor it. Let others find their signal through yours. And if this frequency opens something in you, the next video is waiting, not to teach you something new, but to help you remember more of what you've always carried.